Gentlemen, good to
So
see
good to
you.
see
So good to
you.
see you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us here in the Insights Lounge.
Sure.
Now, for those of you who did not see yesterday's live stream of the main stage, Roman gave one of the most moving presentations of the day. And we were talking earlier, thank you so much for
Yes,
coming
of
by just to
course.
say hello. But
Of
we were talking
course.
earlier because at the end of the day, Dr. Daniel Kraft, when he provided his recap, really actually, highlighted your presentation and the emotional reaction that it elicited from the crowd. I mean, and this was a standing ovation. I mean, I had heard from a number of people that, there were tears shed. I mean, it was really incredibly moving. And one of the comments, I guess, that put it all into perspective from an attendee was, he had said, it's like, we heard Roman speak, and that made us realize, again, touching that deep place in your heart about why we're doing all of this in the first place. So, why we're focused on innovating and why we're focused on changing the outcomes and making things better for people in their lives. So I want to just talk to you because I
Sure.
just want to hear your story, and I want to give you a chance too to tell your story. So for everybody who doesn't know who you are, you're the
Yeah.
CEO of, can
Yes.
you say the company's name?
Remedium. Remedium,
Remedium.
Latin for cure.
Latin for cure,
Yes.
beautiful.
Thank
And
you.
what exactly are we curing? I know you're a
Yes.
stem cell guy.
Yes,
So
I
tell us your
am.
story, and then
Yeah.
let's get to what you're doing.
Absolutely. So on September 10th, 1994, my life changed. I went from being one of the best football players in the whole nation to suffering a C5, C6 implosion of my vertebrae. I went from benching 430 pounds to zero in a single second. Uh, and 3 days later, the doctor came in my room and said, Roman, I'm sorry, you'll never move your arms. You'll never move your legs. You'll never father a child. I said, get out of my room. I have work to do. And that started it. And I got hurt in 94. And 98 was the first actual isolation of embryonic stem cells. And as soon as that isolate happened, I knew that was the cure. Because everything in your body was first a stem cell. So we learned how to codify it. We can turn any part of your body and fix what's broken. And that's so important. Right now, we preserve people like me. We need to cure people like me.
That's that's beautifully said and so articulate. And we spoke yesterday in the Insights Lounge. This interview will be posted later
Yes.
with Peter Diamandis and Bob Hariri, and spoke extensively about stem cells. But for those who aren't really familiar with how it can help somebody like you
Yeah.
in this day and age, because I think like
Yeah.
people are okay. Yeah, I know what a stem cell is. It's
Sure.
in your placenta when
Yeah.
you're when you're born, and these cells can basically turn into anything. But
Yeah.
how does that help somebody who's suffered a trauma or who has some
Yeah.
sort of inflammation in their body?
So right now, when you have a major traumatic problem with your body, you have to wait for an organ transplant. You have to wait for someone else to pass away to get their part. Why not be able to grow your own part that's broken and be able to fix yourself? Right now, if you have a car accident and you break down a Ford, you go get a Ford part to fix a Ford. But right now, you're getting a part that doesn't even fix, and it'll never really be 100% of your body. So you got to go down to the beginning. The beginning are stem cells. Every part of your body was a stem cell. That's the building blocks of life. So you learn how to codify and turn a stem cell into whatever part is broken. You can be able to fix these suffering traumatic brain injuries, spinal cord injuries, diabetes. Right now, we can turn a stem cell into an islet cell that produces insulin, curing diabetes.
That's insane.
This is the biggest
It's
fight in
magic.
the whole. It is.
It's magical.
It really is. I think if Jesus was alive here today, he'd be a stem cell researcher. I mean, we are actually giving sight back to the blind. We are really doing that. And we started that because the oligodendrocytes are the wrapping of your spinal cord, very similar to the macular nerve that you have. And macular degeneration means that it actually falls apart. So we grow it back and we can give sight back to the blind, literally.
That's incredible. And
Yes.
now, talk. I want to follow up with
Yes.
you because,
Yes.
like, let's go back to your story real quick, and then
Sure.
we'll talk about the exciting things that you
Yeah.
have done
Sure.
to help advance stem cell research and
Yeah.
the commercialization of stem
Yes.
cells. So we're coming back to that, I promise.
Yeah.
But I do want to just give everybody an update because as you were talking to me earlier, I'm like,
Yeah.
so what happened? Because like you're
Yeah.
moving your arms,
Yeah.
and we talked about your kids.
Yes,
So what
yes.
happened? So tell us.
Yeah, so I was paralyzed, and for a year I had only this. I couldn't move anything, but every day I would try to move my toes and move my toes and move my arms, and I'd work out and work out. And a year later, I started getting some movement, and I got stronger and stronger. And I went from benching 0 pounds to now I'm benching 300 pounds again. And
Are you kidding?
yeah. And the greatest thing
That's
is I
incredible.
have 3 awesome children that were not supposed to be. They're miracles. They weren't even supposed to happen. And my oldest son, Roman Jr., is at Cal Berkeley. My middle son, Jason's a phenom in sports. And
amazing.
my little daughter, she owns me, Catherine.
Yeah, we talked about that. You're in trouble.
Yeah, totally. So I got a really good presence. I'm okay. and that started the whole thing. And I realized, this is not just about curing me. The first 5 days it was. And I realized There's 6.5 million Americans who are paralyzed, let alone the world over. And someone like me costs about $3 million to $5 million in added healthcare costs.
Wow.
Most people don't have
3
that
million
money.
to 5 million. I just want to like stop there for a second because that's a huge number.
Exactly right. And it's now times up by 6.5 million paralyzed Americans, the number is astronomical.
Yeah.
Right now, we bring in about 1.7 trillion on corporate and personal income tax in America. We spend over 1.9 trillion on chronically cared people like me. We have to cure us for the sake of our country. It's the greatest mission in the world. We were the first to have man walk on the moon.
Yeah.
We should be the first to have a human walk again and paralyzed on Earth. And we're going to do that. And we can do that with Dr. Hans Kierstead. We can do this.
So talk more about that.
Yes.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Yes. So right now we have the most amazing success in America. We were the first to get FDA human clinical trial approval.
Fantastic. For stem cell use.
Yes,
Okay.
for embryonic stem cell use of any kind. And we did it for paralysis, but it was the first for any kind. And when we had success, it's groundbreaking. The first clinical trial is clinical phase 1, which we proved that we don't make the condition worse. Do no further harm, no adverse effects. We proved that, no adverse effects. So the America said, okay, FDA, you have clinical phase 2 approval. Now that's important because that's a half of the treatment dosage. So we did awesome. We gave 12 cohorts of people, and they had no movement. They could do this, no arm movement. All of them got to use their arms back.
Oh, wow.
Half got to use their hands back. And that was on a half a treatment dosage.
That's fantastic. So imagine what can happen.
Yes,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
And we just got approval to do that. So now we've already dosed several patients for a full dosage, 20 million cells, and I believe they will walk.
How long does this take to work? Like, okay, so we administer, is it a shot or?
Yeah, it's one shot, and we even patent the process because you cannot have an injection into your spinal cord and have movement because that would be very bad, right? It'd make it worse. So we actually have a way to put the injection into you, take away all movement. So it's like having two pieces on top of each other, and in each corner they have shock absorbers. So any movement is now allowed for. So we even patented that. So it's one injection, one injection, and you can walk again.
That's amazing.
One injection. It's amazing. So my friend Christopher Block, he had no arm movement at all. We gave him our stem cell treatment. He just threw out the first pitch of the Milwaukee Brewers baseball game.
No way.
Yeah.
So again, though, how long does that take? Like,
Yeah,
is it instant or is it like 3 weeks or like?
Yeah, great question. And we're trying to get that more developed on what
Yeah,
exactly.
no, and I don't mean to like put you into a bug, but I'm just like, give me a sense here. Is this years of
months.
treatment?
We're talking months.
Months.
Several months after our treatment, they're getting their arms back. And now, if you have a major injury of your knee, it takes about a year to have that collagen come back. We're talking about months. And this is from traumatic spinal cord injury and have months to have repair. This changes the world.
That's incredible. Yeah. So I want to ask you too, so we'll come back to your business in a second, but I want to give you an opportunity to talk about the politics around this, because I know that this is a hot button issue and you've been involved in this for a very long time, and you're also responsible for some major laws around stem cells. So talk about that. Brag on yourself, please, because you deserve it.
Thank you. I created the Roman Reed Spinal Cord Injury Research Act, a California law, and that put money into a general fund of the University of California system. And then great scientists made grant proposals, and we funded them. And we did 295 peer-reviewed medical breakthroughs.
That's incredible.
Yeah. We changed the culture from preservation, to keeping people in wheelchair, to cure. And when I first started this, people said, you're in denial. Now I say, what's take so long?
Right? I'm like, is this 3 weeks? What is this?
Yeah. So we're changing it. And what we do is awesome. We actually helped pass Prop 71 with Bob Klein, Don Reed, my dad, and Hans Kierstead.
Oh, cool.
That's $3 billion for stem cell research. And because we invested so wisely, we have matching grants. Now it's worth over $9 billion. And that focuses on all of the gamut of diseases, not just spinal cord, but cancer, diabetes. There's so many things. Right now, we can grow beating cardiac heart tissue in a petri dish. So when you have a heart problem, you actually have a little bit of heart dies. So what we do is we can take a stem cell, turn it into cardiac tissue, put it onto your heart, and have a beating tissue, and then it becomes part of your heart, and you're good.
Crazy. That's amazing. It's like we're regenerative at this point. Like,
it's miraculous. It
really is. And tell me a little bit. You were talking to me about nationally some of the work that you've been doing in stem cell legislation there. So talk to me about that.
Yeah. So right now we have to have a national fight for this. We had a national movement to go be the first on the moon. We have a national movement to walk. So what we're doing is amazing. We're having Dr. Hans Kierstead, the greatest stem cell scientist in the world. He's running for U.S. Congress.
That's fantastic.
Yes, I'm so proud. Here in
From the
this
state of
district.
California?
Yep,
Of
yep.
course.
Here in this district, California District 48.
Of course.
Vote Hans Kierstead
There
if
you
it
go.
matters. Yeah, Hans Kierstead for California. He is the greatest stem cell scientist in the world, and he needs to be in Congress to make stem cell laws. There is not one expert in Congress that is a stem cell expert or a medical expert. How can they make the laws that are going to affect stem cells in medicine without having the experts in there?
Right.
Hans Kierstead is the greatest stem cell scientist in the world, and he needs to go to Congress.
Are there national stem cell laws right now?
So what was great? Do you have 1 minute? You have a Barack Obama story?
I have a minute for a Barack Obama
really
story.
quick. Okay, so March 6th, I get a phone call from President Barack Obama. This was the first 100 days in office, and he calls me up and says, Roman, I would like you to come down to the White House. I'm like, yeah, right, this ain't POTUS. I hung up on the President of the United States of America. I was, oh my God. So he tells me, here's my number, call me back, because I didn't believe him. So I called back, and his nice secretary puts me through and said, oh, Mr. Reed, I'll put you right through. I'm like, I just hung up on the president. I felt terrible. So he says, can you keep a secret? I think, isn't that treason punishable by death?
Yes, I can keep it secret.
Yeah, so I'm stuttering, And he says, well, I know that you provide all the funding when President Bush was in office, so I want you to be here when I sign the law easing the stem cell restrictions and getting you the money that you need.
That's fantastic.
It was awesome. So March 9th comes, and I go there, and he signs the law, and he gives me the pen, and awesome Diane Feinstein's next to me, and she introduces me, and he
This is amazing.
and he says, Di-Fi, of course I know Roman. And I was like, oh my God. So he, right before he came out, there was a person's voice on the PA said there are going to be no pictures. So I said, do you mind if I get a picture? He said, well, actually, he's going to tell me no. I turned around and said, Mom, hurry up, give me a picture. And I got a picture, and he goes, you just worked me over. And I said, hey, technically you did not say no. So that's how I got a picture of President Obama.
That is fantastic. and although that is like an amazing accomplishment, I think like the easing of the stem cell restrictions
was
is
cooler.
probably
A little bit
also
cooler.
cool. That's a little bit
It's kinda
cooler than getting a picture of POTUS. That's pretty cool.
And that's what we need. We have to have the funding from the government, and that's what we've done. We did state laws with $9 billion, and now we're working with Hans Kierstead to make it a federal law to really get the money, because the NIH has to step up in a bigger way. We need the NIH to help us do what we're doing. And they're a little bit slow right now, and they're not funding enough, so we need to push them. We need more funding for stem cell research. You have to think, every thought to therapy bench to bedside takes $1.5 to $2.5 billion. We don't have that much money, so we have to raise this through the government and through philanthropy and for nonprofits. So please donate, give, and we'll have stem cell cures.
Now, I'm going to give you an opportunity to just say, I've got a minute left here, so you got to be quick. But how can people reach you? How can they contribute? How can they participate in this?
RomanReedFoundation.com. You can give online. It would be amazing. RomanReedFoundation.com. If you want to take a stand, I ask you, please take a stand so one day everybody can. Thank you.
Thank you. That was beautifully done, Roman. Thank you so much for joining us here in the Insights Lounge. So we're going to throw it back to one of our package interviews, which was recorded early, and it's Rashi Ahmed, who spoke with us earlier about actually his Snapchat surgery. So hang in there for that, because it's about midway through, but it's pretty exciting to hear about how he actually conducts surgery, and he still does this. So if you want to follow him on Snapchat and watch him do surgery, you actually can. So stay tuned for that, and we will be back live later from the GuideWell Insights Lounge. We hope you enjoy the afternoon. Talk to you soon. Thanks so much for joining us. Don't forget, #XMed.
Amen. Thank you.